Welcome back to Sunday Vibes. This is the show where you send in questions and we answer them while sat in a pub. Hamel, Van Straten are on the show today. Max Barker, though, has our first question. He says, who do you think is going to win the Premier League? What are we now, 2 weeks away from the start of it?
I think there's a really boring answer here, which we're probably all going to go for, which is Manchester City.
Man City, definitely.
However, the actual dynamic of the top four, top six in general, is going to be really interesting this season, given that Sarri's arrived, given that Spurs haven't signed anyone yet. So, should we quickly go through who we think our top four are going to be?
Yeah.
And then maybe talk about some of the more kind of, let's delve into the nooks and crannies.
Yeah, I agree.
So I am going to go for Manchester City first, Manchester United third, Liverpool second, and Tottenham fourth.
Ooh. I think I go City, Liverpool, Spurs, Chelsea.
Ooh. Yeah, City and Liverpool, top two. Chelsea third, I think.
Yeah, I think that's possible as well. It's punchy, but it's possible.
Oh my god.
I feel like Sarri and Unai Emery are coming from such a deficit that anything, if they broke into the top four this campaign, that would be an immense achievement.
But you can also say there's a lot more to come from them, right? Sorry, do your prediction.
I'm going to also go Tottenham fourth. I think United could have a bit of a catastrophic season.
You're not putting United in your top four? Wow.
I think they could have a bit of a catastrophic season.
I would love them to have a catastrophic season.
I would love that to happen as well.
I'd love for Fred to be the worst player called
It
Fred.
could have happened to a nicer club.
It really could happen.
Yeah.
Like, I think United, just the general atmosphere around the team at the moment seems extremely negative.
Very thin at the back.
Or last year before, when they were in the Europa League and Joe would just be at the office watching the game by himself as everyone sort of poured out at kind of 6 o'clock when they were playing some bumblefuck FC in Russia.
Yeah, we won
I'd love
that, didn't we? We won the
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, fair point.
Alright, so I actually think one of my wild cards in my top four is Spurs.
Yes.
And Spurs to me are really interesting because as they are, I think they're good enough to finish in the top four for the next 2 seasons. He's got a superstar striker, one of the most highly rated defenders in the league, a great goalkeeper, although Joe might dispute that. He is a little
he is a good goalkeeper.
He's good enough. He's good enough to win the league.
Aspects of his game that are weak, right? Obviously weak. However, not even linked with someone that would improve that first team dramatically. We've talked about the need for a box-to-box midfielder as Moussa Dembele's ageing. We've always said that Kovacic should be a great signing for them, but what you and I and Joe said off camera is that they need to go out and just sign a thoroughbred winner. I kind of pay into the idea of this more so than you. And the first person who sprang to mind was Thiago Alcantara, because they need someone in midfield, I think, as a last piece of the puzzle to really challenge for the title. I don't see any other areas of weakness. They've got second strikers who are capable of chipping in with 10 to 15 goals in Son and Dele Alli. Like I said, a watertight defence. Davinson Sanchez is only going to get better.
One of the best creators in the league.
Toby Alderweireld looks like he's going to stay put because he's been priced out and moved to Manchester United. So what is it that they're lacking? Someone with that, not just that winning mentality, because I think they have that, but someone who knows, who has that nous towards the end of the season, who could advise players here and there, maybe some of the younger members of the squad. And Thiago Alcantara fits that bill perfectly, but he's not going to be short of suitors, and they'd have to pay an awful lot in wages, wouldn't they?
I have no idea what he earns in Germany, but they are kind of gradually breaking their wage structure anyway, aren't they? Yeah, I kind of
Harry's
agree.
on 200 now, I think.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think that, like, though to me it's not about having a kind of winner in the squad, it's just about having that quality in the squad. Like, I think they need somebody who can come in, even if it's a short-term deal, they need to understand that this is their opportunity to win the league. This is as good as a lot of these players will ever be. Like, Kane can get probably a bit better, Ali can get a little bit better, but you're maybe not going to keep this whole squad together for 3 or 4 years. So you're right, you get maybe 2 or 3. And I would kind of think Thiago's 27. He's not going to be one for the future, but even if he only plays 20 games in the league over the next couple of seasons, that might be enough to tip you over.
Yeah.
Kovacic certainly would be an amazing signing, but even people like Arturo Vidal or Radia Nainggolan, these are older players.
Vidal's a great shout.
But they might be just enough.
Because we saw it with Rafael van der Vaart when he came to the club, and Spurs were a bit of a recurring joke during that period, and then they signed a couple of big hitters like him, and that helped them transition to a Champions League club, didn't it?
Yeah.
So what do they need to do to get to the top of the league?
I think it's really hard, but for me it does come down to depth. I think their midfield depth is not great. I don't beyond the obvious candidates. If Eriksen gets injured, who comes in to replace that?
How dare you talk about Harry Winks like that?
Well,
Yeah,
apparently,
do you know what I mean?
they've been linked with Jack Grealish, right, as a kind of replacement creator.
And that's
I
fine,
like
but
Grealish as well.
I
really
think that's
like
fine.
Grealish.
and that's fine. But when you look
Good
at
link.
the other top teams' depth in midfield, I think there's a little bit left to be desired there. Even Chelsea's depth in midfield is now very strong.
I'd
with
say Chelsea.
Jorginho in there.
I'd say Chelsea have now one of the best midfields in Europe.
Yeah, and Man City's is very deep, isn't it? I just kind of feel like if Eriksen gets injured, where's your creativity come from? I think that the age process on Moussa Dembele isn't going to be particularly kind this season. So who's going to carry the ball through midfield? Maybe a little area to be improved there. And we've said it over and over, haven't we? But is Llorente a good enough backup for Kane? I don't know whether he is. I think again you're asking Kane to produce another 50 game season and score you 30 goals.
Son has always scored reliably when he's played striker, and now that you've got Lucas Moura, you can move Son into the middle and play Moura out wide. Like, I don't see that as that much of an issue. But yeah, the midfield is certainly
That's the one area, isn't it?
right?
The midfield depth is a massive issue for Tottenham Hotspur.
If Eriksen gets injured, their chief creator, that would be a blow to any title aspirations,
Sure.
wouldn't it? Who have they got in there that's going to get
I don't know, but
double digits?
The
in
mere
terms of
fact that
assists?
Harry Winks is coming in that midfield area, and okay, yes, he shifts the ball quite nicely, and he has a nice first touch, and maybe not a natural English style about his game, but just comparatively to Christian Eriksen, it's 5 steps down, isn't it?
Yeah, if they just get I think it's just a blockbuster box-to-box midfielder. If they get that guy in, and then they don't win the league, then at least they could say, you know what, we went out and we tried everything we could. Like, there's no point frittering away 10 million, like 15 million here and there just to like do some minor squad adjustments. They might as well say, you know what, we've got good full-backs, we've got good centre-backs, and we trust that Foyth and Sanchez are going to be the ones for the future. And actually what we're going to do this summer is spend our entire budget on getting just a world-beating central midfielder.
The other thing for me, though, is that it doesn't even feel like they've been linked heavily to a player, let alone going in for him. I don't see any sort of movement in the market. I haven't seen Pochettino moaning about transfers. I haven't seen Daniel Levy out and about trying to sign everybody.
Yeah,
he was on Twitter. He released a statement saying that, trying to appease the Spurs fans, saying that they are coming. So clearly they are working on something behind the scenes. But I kind of hijacked the conversation there with my Spurs agenda. You've both put Chelsea inside your top 4s.
Yeah.
Why is this? What has been? Is the Jorginho transfer, is that kind of in your thinking as to making the top 4? Because we all rate him extremely highly, don't we? And he's definitely going to make a big difference.
Partly. I think the reason I put Chelsea in there is I think they have one of the deepest squads across the board. Definitely one of the deepest midfields. Even like the likes of Ross Barkley has looked top pre-season under Sarri.
Has he?
I'm really interested to see how Sarri utilises Ross Barkley this season, because I think he could get a lot of game time. The defence is pretty deep, isn't it? I mean, I maybe look at a right back as being a problem area for them. I know that obviously Victor Moses has been playing at right wing back, but if Sarri plays a 4, I kind of expect him to play as Piliqueta.
And I think Emerson can cover on the right as well.
So potentially, if you've got that option there, that's pretty deep as well. You've got the likes of Ruben Loftus-Cheek to come back into the side on loan. Whether or not he's going to get an awful lot of game time remains to be seen. Up front, you've got Michy Batshuayi supporting Morata. The big problem for Chelsea, and the reason I have an asterisk next to their name in my top 4, is Thibaut Courtois and Eden Hazard. I think if you lose both of those players, they are no longer top 4 contenders.
I don't think Courtois would be a disaster, depending who they got in.
Pepe Reina to replace him.
It's not amazing, but if they lost Courtois and brought in just a good quality goalkeeper, you know, like, I think they'd probably overpay for Kasper Schmeichel. But if Kasper Schmeichel came in,
Costs a lot of money.
But they'd be totally fine. That would be totally. I don't even know if that's a downgrade. I'm not sure. Courtois has generally saved under what expected goals would predict.
Yeah,
like,
it's been about
he's
2.1, 2.2 shots saved per goal, right, for the last 2 years.
He's underperformed a little bit.
But it's also a lot of
versus
disruption.
expected goals.
Courtois and Eden Hazard are massive mainstays of the side.
Losing Hazard would be an absolute disaster for them, depending who they brought in. Though it's very hard to replace that kind of player. The thing is, with Chelsea, I just don't see how you beat them this season. Like, the defence is very solid, and they are going to take more risks in possession under Sarri than they have under any manager since Ancelotti. But getting through a shield of Jorginho and Kante is going to be nigh on impossible. Those are two guys with massive defensive
is why I
output,
actually-
and Kante can just cover unlimited ground.
Which is why I actually think Barkley is gonna get a lot of game time under Sarri.
He could be the Cahill
Of that
Chelsea.
of those midfield depth Chelsea have got, I don't see that many players that want to break forward at pace from deep. Like maybe Loftus-Cheek plays as the third one, but who is going to be the third alongside Kante?
If you map
and
Chelsea's squad
Jorginho?
onto kind of like Sarri's Napoli, then those are your positions, right? That you need to fill. You need to fill the Kai Hon
Yeah.
role on the right. You need to fill the Hamsik role in the centre. So what you do with those is going to kind of determine the success of your season, because everywhere else they're as good or better probably, apart from maybe Koulibaly.
And that's where we sort of saw Golovin coming in, wasn't it, on that right-hand side where Cahill is. But apparently, as of this morning, he's going to Monaco. So this is Thursday. You guys know this by now. So that'd be a hell of a coup for Monaco. But my worry with Chelsea is actually in their forward areas, and they have depth, but I remain largely unconvinced that any of those strikers are going to score 20 plus goals next season. I mean, if a couple of them score 15 plus, fair enough. You have that Ancelotti scenario of 2010, don't you? But so they've got Morata. I'd like to see him come back, fighting fit, have the same start to the season that he had last season. Michy Batshuayi, I've not seen him pre-season, not sure how much injuries didn't necessarily take his toll.
Might be good on loan to Valencia.
He was decent at the World Cup, linked with Valencia. And Tammy Abraham. So, I mean, comparatively speaking to the rest of the top four, they don't fill me with confidence. What do you think, Tomlinson?
Maybe the front line leaves a little bit to be desired. But a season ago, we were talking about Morata as being arguably the best centre forward talent
He's
of
the
his
big
age.
if, right?
So whether or not he can fire on all cylinders, because let's not forget he did start the season last year well with Chelsea.
I think he will get a lot more joy as well with playing closer to people. A lot of the time last season, Eden Hazard was the only player in his circumference, and he had to drop back in, didn't he, to link up play. And you've got, if you're flanked by, in that 4-3-3 system, by two designated attackers, or at least one, because the Cahill role is quite defensive at times, right? Because they overload sort of the left-hand side. Then, he might prosper.
I think he's going to get a lot more chances. He's going to be way more progressive than under Conte. And I think that Eden Hazard is going to be, like you say, way closer to him. If Willian plays, if he's still at the club, then I expect him to be way closer to him. And that is the reason I'm talking about potentially a Ross Barkley starting for Chelsea, which is pretty crazy, next season, as being the central midfielder that is asked to be progressive on the ball. I think Bakayoko is potentially leaving on loan. I just don't see Kante as... I love Kante, and I think he's probably the best midfielder in the world right now alongside Luka Modric, but do you want Kante being progressive with the ball and trying to go past players?
You do want him going past players, but you don't want him shooting or trying to create in the final third.
Which is what you want from Barkley.
You want him to be dribbling. You want him to be dribbling through the midfield and then getting the ball to either Hazard or whoever is playing.
He's not going to be Fabregas.
You want him to play like Alan does for Napoli,
Yeah.
where huge defensive output, big dribble numbers. So that's a guy who wins the ball, gets you into the attacking third, and then gives the ball to somebody who can actually do something.
I don't think there was a player better in the transition last season than Kante.
100%.
No, definitely.
But
Agree.
we're not going to think it's going to be Bakayoko be that third midfielder. That's like he's going to leave the club.
Bakayoko would fit better in that Alan role than he would in the Hamsik.
Do we see Ruben Loftus-Cheek doing that? Not overly convinced. Maybe.
It's not the worst idea.
Not the worst option. Danny Drinkwater. Think he's still probably a bit more defensive, maybe a Jorginho backup. And then you look at Fabregas. I don't think Fabregas has got the legs to do that progressive role anymore.
That goal scoring central midfield role. I actually think that Pedro could feasibly fill the Kai Hon role on the right. Being the off the ball player for a season. Because what you need in that guy is somebody who doesn't want the ball to feed. You want somebody whose movement off the ball is important. Pedro's great at that, like Kai Hon. But the central midfielder, the goal-scoring midfielder, that's the issue for them. And now Ingalan would have been good. Obviously, Hamsik was one of the best at it. A Ramsey would be good for them if Ramsey didn't sign a new contract, or maybe Golovin in there as well. I think that those would have been interesting. But still, I look at that squad and I think this is actually set up for success. Like there are some fantastic players there, and I think if Real Madrid don't come in with an absolutely monster bid, I think Hazard would be probably quite happy to stay and see what his output could be under Sarri.
Yeah, completely agree. So what are the other teams then we haven't discussed so far? Manchester City, I think, speak for themselves, don't they?
Still got the youngest squad in the top four. The continuity could be unbelievable there. I think we've probably taught them to death in previous episodes, so we can move on. I think the one remaining kind of interesting element is how good are Liverpool going to be this season with those new additions?
Yeah.
Because they've upgraded massively in each department. Who has been your favourite signing of Liverpool's this summer? Because a fair few candidates. It would have been Naby Keita, I think, for a lot of us.
Yeah.
2 or 3 months ago.
Alisson for me. I think Alisson was the most needed in that squad. I think they're going to ship a lot of players out. I reckon by the end of this summer they will have probably sold upwards of £75 million worth of talent, if some of the rumours are to be believed. Apparently they're getting 30 million for the likes of Divock Origi off Valencia. So I think,
deadwood, isn't it?
So I think the fact that they overpaid for Alisson won't matter as much because they're getting rid of so much deadwood. I just think that Alisson was such a desperate position for them to bring in. And maybe more so than a Fabinho. I think Fabinho is one of the bargains of the summer at, what was he, 35, 40 million. But Alisson just...
It's odd, isn't it?
Great move.
I mean, we say desperate. Karius was actually very, very good.
Yeah, but his Liverpool career was over as
10, 15 games.
As soon as that second goal went in the Champions League final.
But yeah, I think that's potentially what convinced the Liverpool hierarchy to spend 65 mil. I'm really excited as to how Fabinho is going to do at the base of that midfield, because now Emre Can has departed. I think there's going to be
What will their midfield three be?
A lot of pressure on him. It's going to be Naby Keita, Fabinho, Henderson.
It's difficult without the Ox. Who's going to play? Who's going to play that attack?
Well, the Ox.
I think the first choice was clearly going to be the Ox.
He's the injection of energy there, right?
But with the defensive output you're going to get from Fabinho or Keita, you could play somebody like Wijnaldum, who is dreadful passing and defensive output, but he's very good in the attack. Like the worry for me with Liverpool is, you say that Chelsea's attack is thin, but Liverpool's attack is incredibly thin. Like once you get out of that amazing front three, then you've got Shaqiri, Solanke. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think Solanke's got talent and will probably be good. I think Shaqiri's okay.
I think that's stronger than Chelsea's.
I think that's so
Divock Origi, Danny Ings.
Divock Origi.
These are all players that Solanke. I don't. And Divock Origi was okay last season in the Bundesliga. I don't think they're any weaker than a Tammy Abraham.
Oh, but Batshuayi is your second choice striker, like at Chelsea, and Solanke is your second choice striker at Liverpool. Like if Salah gets injured, then it's down to Shaqiri.
Only because they're playing a front three, right?
That's worrying for me though. Like I still look at that team and I think, I don't know. Like if one of these guys gets injured, do I want Shaqiri playing half?
They've got a lot of players backing him up, but not the best quality.
Yeah, they need. If they swapped like 3 of those guys for one good player, that would be great. And if they went and got Fekir, which is still possibly on the cards, and he plays the attacking midfield role and can feasibly deputise pretty much across the front line, that's great. That solves that issue for me.
But if Naby Keita contributes to the same amount of goals as he did in his first season at RB Leipzig, along with a front three who are splitting 60 goals between them, then I do think they will be fine in that department. The balance of that midfield is the interesting equation. Because will they play 2 more defensively minded midfielders in Fabinho and Henderson? Fabinho guarding Henderson is almost the Trequarista.
I think maybe
the Regista, sorry.
I think maybe what you might see is I think that midfield three might well start the season, but I think Klopp might find it a little bit limiting in terms of his connection between midfield and attack. So I think what you might actually see is Adam Lallana get a lot of game time in that sort of kind of reserved second striker role, and potentially link the midfield with the attack.
Lallana's a useful player.
I think Lallana, Henderson, and Lallana, Keita, and Fabinho might well be used a fair amount.
Lallana could definitely do what Coutinho was doing. Was it like midway through the season when he was on the left-hand side in that 4-3-3? He's intelligent enough, isn't he? For sure. I don't necessarily feel the need to talk about City. Do you want to talk about United before we move on?
I don't think there's a massive... We've spoken about United a lot, haven't we? I think there's still a couple of signings needed, but don't know whether Jose's going to get them in before the window closes, to be brutally honest. I think one of them is a centre-back, potentially another full-back. And, well, I've been banging on about needing a central midfielder, but it looks like Andreas Pereira is going to be used as a defensive midfielder this season as a backup to Nemanja Matic. I mean, he's been played in pretty much every pre-season game as a defensive midfielder. He's been playing pretty well, to be fair, but he's basically, what's happened to Andreas Pereira is he's working side by side. He's being tutored by Michael Carrick, so Michael Carrick is effectively working one-to-one with Pereira.
I just don't know what point they're trying to prove. You know, Mourinho. If he's going to say, right, well, Pereira will do a job as a defensive midfielder, then
isn't he attacking midfielder?
Yeah, then does it? And also doesn't this make it a nonsense of signing kind of old players, which are short-term options. You
Yeah,
know,
I
like getting in guys like Matic, you get those guys in because you want to win now. But then if you're going to use Pereira there,
well, I
then
think
you're
Pereira's
saying,
going to be a backup. Pereira's going to
I
be
just don't
very much.
understand.
Pereira's going to be very much a backup. I think our midfield three is pretty settled in the fact that it's going to be Matic, Fred, and Pogba, with Herrera, Fellaini, and Pereira as the backup three. I think that's pretty much what.
So you're going
to
to play an attacking three.
No, I think it's not that attacking.
Do you think?
Oh, well, a front three?
Yeah.
Potentially, although.
Because you've only got 4 forwards, haven't you?
We've got quite a few forwards.
You've got Lukaku, you've got Martial, Rashford, and Sanchez.
Yeah, but I think what you'll see quite a lot, which was used a lot last season, was Jesse Lingard and Juan Mata used as one of those three and kind of sits in as a more central role.
All right, fair enough.
It's a difficult one.
It's quite uninspiring.
I would personally love us to play a front three of Alexis Sanchez on the right for once, Jose. Lukaku through the middle and Martial on the left. But I just
That's
don't
clearly
think
your
it's
best
if he can coach a defence next season, because that was the most kind of
Yeah, well, that's why he's bought Fred as well, I think.
the strangest thing about last season was that you were so porous.
Yeah, and the trouble is, last season as well, let's not forget that Eric Bailly had significant injuries throughout the whole season. So hopefully he can put together a full season. He's by far our best central defender. He's a massive loss when we don't have him in the side. So I think when Eric Bailly puts together a run, you'll probably see a slightly improved Man United.
Yeah, your defence was actually great when Bailly played, and when he didn't play, it was catastrophic. Yeah. But that is a worry for Mourinho. Mourinho was never that reliant on talent.
And then, like you've said a few times on this show, there's massive problems in our fullback areas. He's moaned nearly the entirety of last season about our fullbacks and how Manchester City have been able to spend 150 million pounds on fullbacks, and we've spent nothing. Well, he hasn't signed a centre-back this summer. He's tried and failed for a move for Alexandro. He's seemingly brought Luke Shaw back into the side through more necessity than wanting to, with Ashley Young being out of the World Cup and probably out for the first 2 to 3 weeks.
Does he still weigh 600 kilograms?
Well, he's lost a lot of weight, hasn't he, pre-season, and he's apparently topped all of our pre-season fitness tests. But the pre-season games I've watched, again, I don't know.
You don't seem very inspired. You don't
I'm
seem
not
very charged up for the next season.
I'm not the most inspired by this Manchester United side. I've got a feeling that there's a Jose Mourinho implosion on the cards. Just the way he's been talking, extremely negative. I haven't got what I want.
What did you make of Pogba is a better player in the France setup? Because what he's saying kind of made sense, but then again,
So,
like, a lot of the time with Jose, even if it does make sense, you think, why say it at all?
So I don't know whether you watched the whole interview. The whole interview was actually quite interesting. I watched it. I think it was with ESPN, and what he actually says is the World Cup is the perfect environment for Paul Pogba because he has to focus on every game. It's a very enclosed camp. He has to be concentrated, and every single game is a big game.
Indirect dig at his concentration
Effectively,
over the course of the season.
Yeah. So basically saying he actually says at one stage, he says in the Premier League, the tough stage is when you go big game, little game, even smaller game. Whereas at the World Cup, it's big game, big game, big game, and Paul Pogba is just concentrating.
Paul Pogba's finding it hard to motivate himself
Whereas
to play
I believe that's what Jose is effectively saying, and I'm sorry, Jose, but it is your job to keep him concentrated and motivated for the smaller games. That is literally the job of the coach. That and tactics and positioning. Man management is a massive factor. The fact that you can't get the best out of Paul Pogba because he maybe isn't as concentrated for playing a Wolves as he is a Man City is a massive problem.
I think this is bullshit. I think this is one of those things where, like, when a team underperforms against other teams, they decide that this is the one player who's like the problem. So for Arsenal, it's Mesut Ozil. Even though Mesut Ozil across his Arsenal career has been incredibly consistent, even in a bad game, he will create 3 chances. He always does. Paul Pogba's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Paul Pogba in bad games last season, like, I would constantly do this where I'd see people whinging about what a bad game Pogba had, so I would go and look at his numbers from the match, and they're exactly what you want to see from a central midfielder. Like, don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean that he couldn't improve his performances, but I think it's just absolutely ridiculous that, like, despite being consistently a creative presence, despite being involved in goals throughout the season, despite doing transition play, all the things that you want from him, it's just, Man United have had a bad game, therefore Pogba must be the issue. I don't think that's true.
I don't want to say it, but I just feel like there's an implosion coming with Jose Mourinho. And
that'd be great.
I just feel like he's
amazing.
At the stage where he's almost at loggerheads with the board. Give him another season, 6 months to a season, and those loggerheads will
think of the
titles back in Italy.
Think of the titles if he does leave.
He'll be back in Italy, or he'll go back to Porto.
What I will say is,
if
he does leave, the United squad, although we've said that he's brought players in that are older and he's tried to fill a certain profile of player, there is still some very young, exciting talent in that team. The front line, Lukaku, Martial, Rashford, Fred in midfield, Pogba in
Lukaku's not that
midfield.
Fred's
young
not
anyway,
that
is he?
young. Fred's not that young.
Lukaku's got a hit. He's got to hit 20 goals this season.
Lukaku will hit 20 goals. So I
I
have
see what you
no
mean,
doubt
like,
Lukaku will hit 20
Lukaku,
goals.
Pogba, Martial, Bailly, that's
Rashford,
the
Bailly.
that's
You've
the
got
core of
people
a
in
very
their
good
prime
team.
now, haven't they?
You've got some
You've got people,
perfectly profiled and aged players in that team.
people in their prime.
But I don't know. I'm not.
There's never been a
overly
better time,
excited.
but there's probably been a better coach.
Yeah, I'm not overly excited about Man United this season. But anyway, what do you think of the top 6 for this coming season? And who is your top 4? Why don't you let us know that in the comments below?
Now, before we move on, guys, let's take a look at Football Daily and Euro Football Daily's best bits of the week, including 12th Man, which made a glorious return on Thursday. Joe did a 20-minute section on Barry Douglas.
Yes, Barry.
And then he moved to Leeds.
Love it, Barry.
Cheers, Barry.
Bahrain.
Welcome back to the 12th Man and welcome to the Football Daily Man Cave. On this show we talk fancy football, we take your questions and we preview the Premier League's biggest games. Look at the work Zach
Vegas
has done behind the scenes to turn this place into the Nevada Strip. It's unbelievable. Congratulations Zach Jalab for making VFN look hot. I think he is the 3rd best player in the world right now. I think Lionel Messi, obviously the GOAT.
Emil Heskey.
It'll be really hard to get through like doorways and on public transport. They probably wouldn't let me on. Discrimination, that's what that is.
Moving on now to our quick fire questions. The first one was sent in by Dante Freen. What is your favourite name of a footballer? Van Straten, you've got a list.
I've got so many.
Go on then, list some.
There's Quincy Amarikwa. That's pretty good. There's Duckens Nazon. There's Zeus de la Paz. He's good. There's a guy called Boy Waterman.
Boy Waterman.
You
Boy
put together a
Waterman.
show, didn't you?
Yeah,
Of, is this a real footballer's name or
Or
not?
I made up.
So you've got...
And Boy Waterman. He's a Dutch keeper. Played for PSV. Now plays in the Cypriot League. It's pretty good.
Boy Waterman.
Yeah, Pablo Escobar. He plays in Bolivia. That's pretty tight. I don't know. There's a guy called Ouya, plays in China. There's a guy called Shouting Wang, who plays in China as well. There's a guy called Dick Charmer, who I think
Shouting Wang.
I think he might hold the record for number of caps for Zambia. He's got like 76.
Dick Charmer.
Dick Charmer.
Dick
And
Charmer.
oh no,
Fantastic.
there's a youth player at Man City whose name is Divine Nah. His surname is N-A-A-H. And his first name is Divine. It's pretty good.
It sounds like he's a trap star.
But Shouting Wang, I mean, you can't
Shouting
be
Wang's
that.
pretty
Was
good.
sick, man.
When anyone ever talks about best names in sport, I always
Rubio
think
Rabin.
of a tennis player, Mardy Fish.
Hardy Fish.
Mardy
Retired
Fish.
now,
I
I think.
don't think you can top that. Mardy Fish, that is spectacular. I also quite rate. Oh no, I don't really. Go on. You
Mine,
jump in. I'm not.
I still think my favourite footballer's name is Max Power.
It's very
in
good.
the lower leagues of England, he's
Yeah.
been knocking around for a long time.
I mean-
Although I also like Isaac Success.
That's very good.
Isaac Success is a cool name.
There's a guy I found the other day whose first name was God's Plan, and I was like, tight.
Mad.
Like, but there's God Knows Mawira, there's Teenage Hadebi, like the
Teenage Davies, man.
Teenage Hadebi.
That
Is
is
it? He's
ridiculous.
a Zimbabwean legend. Yeah, I don't know. I think the problem is American football just has football absolutely battered on this. You know, like DeBrickashaw and Damakong Sir. Like these are absolutely ridiculous names.
Should we move on to the next one? It's just mad names flying by here.
I always quite like Bobo Bowdy.
Bobo Bowdy is nice.
Because
very good.
Celtic at one point we were linked with Rod Fanny, and we could have easily put a back.
Yuri Zhirkov.
Could have feasibly put a back three together. It was Lee Naylor, Bobo Bowdy, and Rod Fanny. So you know, I'll leave you to that. Got a laugh on
Unbelievable.
Tuesday behind the camera.
And the next name, the person who sent the next question has a good name, Stephen Surprise.
Jeff Cumshaw.
Jeff, my God's sake. Stephen Surprise, he says, if you guys had to pick your favourite player from your club's rivals, who would it be?
Favourite, so not necessarily
Favourite
the best.
player. Favourite player from Rangers, Chris.
Oh,
There can't be too many,
good luck
can
with
there,
that.
right? I suppose you can take
Stevie
Stevie.
G.
You can take Stevie.
Stevie G. I don't know. It'd have to be like.
Kenny Miller.
It'd have
From
to
the
be.
past.
It'd have to be in the 90s.
Yeah.
When, you know, they had players like Laudrup, like Gaza. Although Gaza was sent death threats from the IRA for doing the flute celebration, so it doesn't really hold a sort of. He's not holding high esteem by the Celtic fans. Oh God, yeah, maybe just go Laudrup. It's hard with Celtic and Rangers because I mean, from my lifetime, who the f am I going to take? Barry Ferguson,
McCoist.
Kenny Miller, mate.
We did take Kenny Miller, and he went whack.
About you, Peeves.
Oh Jesus Christ! What from Spurs? Thing is, I never grew up thinking of Spurs as our rivals because they weren't back then. I always
United,
thought of United as our rivals. So like, I was my favourite United player. I really did enjoy Skulls, but I loved Roy Keane. You know,
Keano.
I loved Roy Keane. I think Roy Keane has never got the respect he deserves. Like, whenever people kind of rate those like the 4 midfielders in that United midfield, they always put Keane 3rd or 4th, and I reckon he's at worst 2nd.
One of the greatest individual performances I've seen like live, not in the flesh. I wasn't at the game, but I remember watching it as a youngster. That game against Juventus in the semi-final
In '99,
he was unreal.
and he was booked as well.
One of the
he
first
missed
games
the
I
final.
sort of remember watching.
It was absolutely incredible.
Mine then, same way as you, I don't really think of City as the main rivals. It is still Liverpool for me. So, you know what, favourite player, I'm going to go Danny Ings. Head of a dwarf on a normal man's body, as Kieran once said. So I like Danny Ings.
What a forced segue into that joke. My favourite player, Danny Ings. No one's ever said that.
No, I don't know.
Alonso, you know, like, I mean,
I used to hate Xabi Alonso, man.
Mascherano, he strikes the sort of
Xabi
player you
Alonso.
like, snaps into tackles, dirty little.
No, probably not. I
John
don't know.
Arisa because of the resemblance.
Definitely not John Arisa. He's one of the worst blokes going. So definitely not John Arisa. Yeah, I would probably
Suarez.
go for Mo Salah. Just seems like a nice guy, doesn't it? Seems like a likeable bloke. So Mo Salah, I'll go for.
All right.
Pretty obvious then.
Boring answer.
The next one is Iran Irerbi. He says, "What are your guys'
Horrible.
thoughts on Qatar hosting the 2022 World Cup?"
Is the iPad run out of
Just,
battery?
just right on out, yeah. So
Just died.
2022 World Cup Qatar.
Oh my God.
What are we saying?
There you go.
Thanks.
Awful.
Idea.
Awful. What, a
Horrendous.
Winter World Cup's the first time ever that we have to wait 4.5 years for
3.5?
the next World Cup.
That's a good
3.5. 3.5. It's brought forward, not put backwards.
What?
3.5 for the next World Cup.
What? So it's going to be Christmas 2021?
What just happened?
No, it's going to be 2022.
Is it?
So that's 4.5 years.
It's Christmas
Anyway,
2021.
Leave that in.
It's
Yeah.
Christmas 2021.
It's not going to be in 2021. It's the 2022 World Cup. You literally just read 2022 World Cup to us.
Yes,
they
because
can't put, it can't be held in
But it's still in
2021.
the year of 2022. It's the winter of 2022. It's not been brought forward 6
No,
months.
but
to
it's
be
in
3.5
January,
years.
isn't it?
No, it's December to
January.
November to December. It ends like a week before Christmas. This is amazing.
Yeah, you're right.
Hey, get a calendar.
4.5 years. Sake,
Right,
Qatar.
okay, let's go back to what you were saying about the Qatari World Cup.
No, let me just ask you the question again, isn't it?
No, that's going in.
No, it's not.
It's
Absolutely
definitely going in. That was amazing. That's the best thing you've ever done.
not. No, it's not going in.
Oh, it's funny as fuck.
Ivan Irerbi has the next question. He says, "What are your guys' thoughts on Qatar hosting the 2022 World Cup?"
It's a disgrace. We have to wait 4.5 years for the World Cup for the first time ever, and thousands of people have reportedly died creating it. So the less said about it, the better. Shall we move on? In the same way that Russia defied expectations, I think that is beyond Qatar.
But at least Russia didn't have thousands die at their own hands.
And there's also a difference between it's possible to make it a nice experience for the people who come, while the actual country as a whole is a disaster. Like, I think that Qatar will probably actually put on quite a nice experience for a lot of people who head there for the World Cup. But I think it's a disgusting slave state.
For a lot of
and
people
they
who,
should never be given the World Cup.
who don't like other men, that might be nice for them. But if you can't hold hands at a World Cup, then Patrick, that's another World Cup I want to be part of, mate.
Yeah, I want to be holding hands.
Can't even
with
get
them.
drunk. It's bull.
Yeah, that is absolute
Disgrace.
nonsense. The last one of these quickfire questions was sent in by Kunal Shah. He says, with the trailer for the Manchester City documentary out, which other club's current season do you think would make for the most interesting subject? Oh, I think that's a great question.
You're going to say Wolves, aren't you?
Now, I thought Man City, I can't wait for the Man City documentary.
They are the
Like,
best one it
looks
could be that season,
unbelievable.
last
That season could not
Got
have been better
goosebumps
tailored.
watching the trailer.
Absolutely
It's not even
unbelievable.
sponsored content.
Although-
Amazon, well done.
I mean, obviously Leicester's title
The one
season
thing
would have
that's
been amazing.
the one thing that's actually slightly annoying about last season is the two tunnel fights, i.e. Chelsea and Manchester United, where they over celebrated and it kicked off in the tunnel. Man United didn't allow them in the stadium, and Chelsea didn't allow the Amazon TV.
So irritating.
So that's annoying.
Maybe they'll do a reenactment.
Right.
Potentially, but this season, yeah, definitely Wolves. Has to be Wolves, doesn't it? Definitely.
I don't think it has to be
absolute
Wolves.
madness. Oh come
What,
on.
with Uncle George, eh?
Uncle George dictating everything that anyone does behind
Every
the scenes.
Portuguese
what?
player waiting for
Playing
the
him
phone
like a
call.
puppet.
I would love to see behind the scenes at Leeds being run by Bielsa this season. That will be a
His first
show.
pre-season at Lille, which we know now in
That was
retrospect,
a good one.
these methods didn't work. He got them all to live in a complex They all shared a room, 2 on 2. I think they only saw the families at weekends.
This is great.
He went fully militant with Lil, and the players loved it until they didn't start getting results, and then they completely.
That's the difficulty,
They completely peaked on. But Bielsa would be a
He's
good
great.
shout. What any club ever was the question?
It can be any club ever. We'll stretch it out to that.
Beyond like our favourite ones, obviously mine would be 67 Celtic, 2003 Celtic. A really, can you think of a season that just went completely like south?
I would
and
love
no
to see
one
the
really
Jose
can put the finger
Mourinho
on why?
sacking where they finished 15th when he was sacked.
16,
Yeah, but you've only got like 3 months.
Yeah,
of the
but
season.
that 3
Like,
months would be explosive.
like, I don't know. What you really want is a season where everything just goes disastrously wrong, and maybe a club gets relegated. I mean, the season that I don't know, like when River Plate got relegated from the Argentine top flight, I imagine that was
and
bananas.
they just changed the relegation and promotion rules,
That
so
was
they
crazy.
didn't get relegated. I don't know.
Any Valencia season.
What about like sort of Cruyff maybe? While he was playing, you know, the build up to 74, the build up to total football. It would have been nice to see kind of him, Rinus Michels and Neeskins kind of changed the face of football, so to speak, or maybe Cruyff in his first few years managing Barcelona and the sort of the struggles those guys had. I don't think they.
Pep's first year would have been great, actually. Like, you know,
Oh,
just
at
got
Barca.
promoted from Barca B. You know, like
Yeah.
no one knew who the he was. They turned down Mourinho to give him the job, and you know he brought up Busquets and said this guy's going to anchor my midfield. And he was a kid. Like that was great. And he said to Messi, you know, you're going to be the best player in the world. Like that would be amazing. Or even the first season that Wenger arrived at Arsenal, where he had to go up to all these like, you know, beer-swilling dickheads and say like, by the way, you're professional athletes.
Yeah.
You might want to act like.
Here's a
That'd
piece
be
of
interesting.
broccoli, Tony Adams. Get it down your throat.
Yeah, two interesting ones. Maybe bleep that. Maybe just bleep that. But anyway, should we do personal questions? Go straight into it.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's pick one of these. We did cuisine last week, so we're not going for that one. Meath Handa, what's your ideal vacation destination?
Okay.
Pat's
We've
own?
already- we've already
Ideal
done
as
the
in
next-
like a place you want to go.
We've already done the next country we'd like to go to.
We've
right?
done that, so
okay.
moving on.
So
But
Alright, this is a good
ideal
one.
destination's different if you want to say.
No, let's sack that off. Kieran
Alright, cool.
Hughes has a good one. Which member of FD would you prefer to be stuck on a desert island with?
Jesus
Ooh,
Christ.
almighty. It feels like we are stuck
Never.
on a desert island every single day.
Mm.
Like, we work within about a 6 foot proximity of one another. Zach's actually sat forward behind the scenes for this question.
You know,
he's desperate to know.
But not- definitely not Zach
Who's
on
got
the
the
cover.
who's got the most practical skills?
Me.
Nobody.
Annoyingly, it is probably you. You did a lot of
Is it?
fishing, didn't you? You did a lot of ratting. with
Fishing,
his little
hunting, survival.
Jack Russell.
Survival.
Yeah, I did
You wouldn't be
survival
that-
courses
you
down
wouldn't
in
be that
Devon,
bad.
right?
And to be fair, you annoy me a lot less than a lot of people on FD.
Yeah.
Naming no names. Wow. I don't know. Like, when you think, see, I get on well with Olivia, but on the other hand, I feel like she'd just tell you that like shit the whole time. She'd be like, I don't like your clothes. You smell really bad. Like that wouldn't be that fun for me.
She's not going to be happy the way you've represented her there.
Nah, she
Fuming.
likes to be mean. She's a very cruel woman.
Fuming.
Kieran be alright. He'd entertain you.
I'm going to go Zach Jalab.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm going to go Zach Jalab because I think he would.
Size can kill things.
Not just the size, but I think he
Not
would
just
keep
the
he would keep spirits high. He would keep spirits high a lot of the time.
Positive vibes.
Very positive vibes.
And
And I think
also-
you need that on a
No,
desert
I
island
just
where
want
you're
to settle
at.
in and become
Just
and
run.
like wait for death.
Just run at that coconut tree.
Yeah,
And like
with your head.
If he hits it, yeah, with
Bang.
that, with
So
that
you wanna-
slab, coconut galore.
You want to treat him like Donkey Kong is basically on the island.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Interesting.
Like he's like a fucking,
Treat him like the mule. Treat him like a
What
mule.
are those little cars called? Little bumper
Zach,
cars.
go and bring me four
Dodgems. He's like a human dodgem.
Go and bring me 4 trees, Zach. Yes, I'm coming back now.
He is reliable. He's
Yeah.
very trustworthy. isn't
Jackson, you'd get like
he? Not George, obviously.
Jackson's a good conversationalist. You'd have a couple of deep chats with Jackson. Yeah, George would be
George
dead.
would kill himself by the day
George would be
two.
dead within hours.
Yeah. And you couldn't even eat him afterwards. There's nothing on the
nothing.
fucker.
And it's all infected if it is.
Yeah. So are we all agreeing? Are we basically agreeing that it's Zach then?
Well,
that's
Mikey McCubbin would be a laugh.
no. The smell of the guy by the end of it.
Oh,
he'd be smelling of patchouli from dancing all the time. He'd be having a great time.
What about temps?
No.
What would temps do on a desert
The
island?
only practical skill
used
he's
to
got
be
is
an
Temps would
electrician.
just,
being an
temps would
electrician,
just,
which no
temps would just sunbathe. You'd just be there like that. Just not. We can make that camp tomorrow. can't we?
No, you'd wake up in the morning and temps would be like, oh well, a boat stopped past, but instead of like getting a lift, I just got like a free T-shirt from them instead. I didn't get one for you.
He'd capture you like slowly, you know, decaying in portrait mode extremely well. Yeah. That's what temps would do. Next question.
The next one,
that one got off there.
The final one. Jack says, "Do you watch any YouTube channels in your free time?"
Brackets, Sidemen type of channels.
Definitely not Sidemen type of channels.
Yeah, I think. Let's just avoid that.
Let's just avoid that topic.
We all really enjoy the needle drop, don't we? Anthony Fantano. It's just nice listening to someone talk about maybe something you don't know about, but so passionately and so knowledgeable that you find it of great interest. Like he's encyclopedic, isn't he? When it comes to music.
Colours is pretty good. Another music channel.
Copper 90s Derby Days, got to say. Do enjoy. I think Eli's done a very good job there.
What else?
I watch a lot of Dobrik and Casey Neistat.
I watch
you guys aren't the biggest fans.
I like Neistat. I like Dan Mays. So I'm not sure about his last video, but Dan Mays, someone who could have feasibly gone into film, coming onto YouTube is very interesting.
Yeah, and what
Hot
else
Ones on First We Feast is
Hot
really
Ones,
good. That's one of the best shows on YouTube.
It is very good.
I'll check in as well. On
Chicken Shop Date as well. Chicken Shop Date is hard to forget.
Check in on GQ's content as well, like GQ doing like 10 things I couldn't live without.
GQ's
like for instance, with people like Pusha T, like that's quite fun as
well.
well.
Like Kevin Hart's. Is it with Old Spice?
Yeah, the recovery bar.
The recovery bar.
Yeah, that's really
with the NBA stars.
I can't stand
really, I think he's quite
funny.
I sometimes think he kind of maybe kills conversation a little bit with the celebrity, but that's my only criticism. Other than that, I think he's very likeable.
And then Joe Rogan's podcast. I listen to that on YouTube. I don't really use the podcast that very effectively.
Like you were banging into YouTube, weren't you? And I'd say the only before I came here, I wasn't really that into the platform.
No.
And the only kind of people on FD who've had aspirations to be YouTubers are some of the younger guys, right? Like Zach, like Kieran. Like Kieran has a pretty encyclopedic knowledge when it comes to YouTube. Like he'll watch the KSI and he's the blonde who looks like that prince off of Shrek.
Yeah, Logan Paul.
Logan
the
Paul.
worst human being in the world.
Like chat during those kind of like the boxing matches. But like, are you now interested in the platform having worked on it?
No, not really. I'm interested in the democratization of like content creation. I like that people can make what they want and put it out there in the same way that like it's basically the visual version of like what I was interested in years ago, which was like finding mixtapes from unsigned artists like on hip hop websites. Like
MTV.
that was how I found a lot of good music, and in a way it's kind of the same thing. So it's not that I'm against it as a platform, it's more that like I still feel like there's not stuff there that's entirely for me. I think it's slightly younger than the stuff I'm interested in. But I think it will be in peaks and troughs. I think this kind of stuff will improve again. Like it will go through a stage where hopefully all the lifestyle vlogs die off, and then I think we'll get a better version of it, and it will gradually be professionalised in an interesting way.
Tomlinson?
That's pretty much it, isn't it?
Are you more into it than you were as a
I've always
kid having
been
worked on it, or less?
pretty into YouTube, to be fair. Even before I started the company, when I was pre-university and like high school and college and that, I was like. So like, this is pretty sad, but I was like making like no scope montage and for YouTube. So
Mate, I used to make stickman fights on Flash and put them on. I can't remember what website it's called now.
like, do you remember those no scope montages like set to dubstep, like stupid like that I used to make. So
Do you remember
That's the seed,
Zach's gaming channel that he pretended wasn't his?
yeah,
He lied and said it wasn't him, but it was.
Find that on YouTube, and if you do, tweet it to us because it's absolutely exceptional content.
I think he's taking it down, unfortunately. But
That's disappointing. That's disappointing.
We'll
But
find the videos. We'll put them up.
is that the end of?
I think that's a
Sunday Vibes?
suitable bombshell to end on.
Yeah, there we go then. So that is the end of Sunday Vibes. If you want to get your question answered next week, please do tweet it to us. I think somebody usually puts a tweet out like Wednesday or Tuesday, so keep your eyes peeled on one of our Twitter feeds. What else is happening on Football Daily this weekend?
Oh, please take this one.
Hamel?
Stat Wars, me versus Siegel in the semi-finals of
yeah.
Stat Wars, the champions. So all to play for there. If you've seen it already, then then go and check out something from even earlier in the week, like Football Mundial.
Oh man.
But basically, there is no better Saturday anywhere on YouTube than on Eurofootball Daily, Stat Wars, and Kieran's Comments Show. So go and check that out.
Yes, and make sure you go and watch the 12th Man, our fantasy football show. That will be up. There's
Pin on
links in
screen
the
now to
description.
join the league.
Yeah, come and join our league as well.
837
There's links
6406.
in the description below.
Rain Man.
Wow, you're a freak.
Remember that.
Wow.
Thanks so much for watching.
Oh wow.
Bye.